So I wanted to make a quick video of a few of my favorite coffees of the year. And since it's Christmas time, I have accumulated a bit more coffee and have a broader selection than even is typical for me. I usually do have a lot. So I can give a swivel in my swivel chair here and change the shot so that you guys can see the coffees that I'm talking about. And then I'll pull a couple of shots of my favorite things and we'll get into it at the moment. I would say presently, but I don't want to hearken imagery of Christmas presents by saying presently, even though I did it anyway. It wasn't intentional. I can't stop talking.
First up is this Geisha from Regalia. Lusso's Dinastia. It's a 300-hour chill fermented natural geisha, and as advertised, this coffee is a legit citrus bomb. Second is another modern light roast. This one's part geisha, part SL28. It is the Kona Tropical Punch from Paradise Roasters. It's a yeast ferment which can amplify coffee's fruitiest notes. It sometimes comes with a little bit of funk or booziness. Like the Dinastia from Regalia, this coffee is remarkably tasty when properly pulled as a modern shot of espresso. If you prefer something more traditional, I really have been enjoying the coffees from Caffe Lusso, a great roaster doing classic Italian style but high end. This Guatemalan Finca Florencia and their Gran Miscela Carmo have been my perpetual choice for cappuccinos and lattes the last few weeks. If you'd like something sort of in between, mostly traditional with a modern slant, let's say, Onyx's seasonal coffee Krampus is what they call an expressive dark roast. It offers some classic taste, but with a clean note of something like spiced grapefruit, sort of mixes things up. If you'd like to get weird on paper, but maybe not as weird as you'd expect, I also really like this melon Co-Ferment from Onyx by way of Brayan Alvear. I have mixed feelings about Co-Ferments in general, but this one was just right. It was sort of tea-like with a Japanese watermelon candy aftertaste. It was pretty cool, better than you'd think. And if you actually want to get weird, this Ultrasonic SL28 from JBC Roaster and Wilton Benitez is about as funky as it gets. Just about every hyper-modern processing technique you can think of went into this one. I won't even get into it, but this is one of the most unique coffees around, with a strong tasting notes of sweet tarts or like a blue raspberry fun dip mixed with beer or hops. It is not easily explained, and it is not for everyone, but if you like funk, it is absolutely worth special recognition because it is so unusual. And I have to mention Say Coffee, one of my most reliable favorites. Their pink bourbons are consistently great, and I almost always have a bag of something from them in the house. Now that my dog has gotten comfortable, I will pull a few shots. I'll start with the Tropical Punch from Paradise Roasters. I really love this coffee. My main criticism is that it can be temperamental. I think some of the more funky processed coffees like yeast inoculation and co-ferments are just a bit more volatile. In the same way the beans are changing and peaking after initial roast in their microbiology, the additional chemical alterations are working similarly as sort of an additional dimension of change has been my experience. At its absolute best, this coffee probably is my favorite of the year, but after the first week or so, the personality seems to change and the coffee becomes more work to get my favorite flavors out of. I've consumed quite a lot of this pricey coffee in the last few months, and I've pulled shots with it using various flow profiles. But I think the best method is a short pre-infusion, followed by a quick ramp up, not too much force, just enough to find good resistance pressure, then a quick bloom early on, then low flow again, and depending on how it's going, I will put a second short bloom somewhere no later than the middle to enhance some of the sweetness. Emphasis on the early part of the shot brings out the lilikoi or passion fruit notes, and the bloom set towards the middle brings out more of the strawberry papaya notes. The absolute best shots from this were intense lilikoi with a melty, creamy strawberry finish that turned into like a candied pineapple in the aftertaste. Really spectacular. But like I said, at some point, those acid-forward notes became a little bit more elusive, and the coffee became boozier unless I focused more on the middle notes instead, like that strawberry papaya, and dialed more into that part of the cup. Still good, but frustrating to go from one of the best tasting coffees I've ever had to just good, or even if it was very good, it's still dropping. The Dinastia citrus bomb from Regalia was just more consistent in my experience. Regalia Roasters suggests a 4 to 6 week rest period for their coffees, which is pretty long. I found 3 weeks is plenty. Their coffees do change around 6 weeks though. The broader sweet notes become more dominant, though the acidity become more diminished. And you also suddenly have to change your grind size to be a bit finer, as there seems to be a dramatic change in porosity around this time. This coffee, the Dinastia, is extremely bright and citrusy and just super clean. My preferred flow profile for this one was pretty similar to the Tropical Punch. They're somewhat similar in taste in general, but I maybe run the pre-infusions and the blooms a little longer for the Dinastia, as I find the flavors on this were less evasive and ephemeral, and you can push the intensity a little harder without going in one direction or another dramatically. One extreme variable I found with this coffee, though, was that if I pulled a coarse turbo with an extra long middle bloom, I was able to heavily subdue the acidity, which is really the dominant feature of the coffee, and it produced a cup that tasted completely different. It was a heavier, more syrupy cup, had a taste kind of like a cherry candy. I thought it was cool, though, that this coffee basically had an Easter egg if you pushed it in a different direction. Both of these coffees are really excellent, and if you like this modern, fruit-forward, acid-forward style, these are going to be hard to beat. But ultimately, the reliability of the Dinastia from Regalia puts it over the top for me, even if the best version of the Tropical Punch is a little bit better than the Regalia. The Tropical Punch just did not land as good of a grade as often as the Dinastia, which was really a 4-star and up every single cup. And since I pulled 2 of these thin modern shots, I'm going to wrap up the video by pulling a traditional shot using the Caffe Lusso. And it's going to be a nice latte for me that's going to wrap up the video and the coffee for me for today. And the new year, I guess.
I could probably talk about toy trucks. Probably just start naming candy like Nerds and Nerds Rope. And do you guys remember Dweebs or Runts? I hate banana, but I do like a banana runt. Anyway, we're talking about coffee. And the coffees that I have the Coffee Tech Flat Max in the background. This is somebody else. This is the 1Zpresso. What a good name. Just rolls off the tongue. J Ultra. And I have my Olympia Cremina. And I have hidden away in here, I have a DF64 with the diamond-like burrs.